Kerala pilgrimage for me became a learning about how much Guruji is not about what is happening outside, although we all tend to think that what he is doing outside is most important. And it is important, of course, to quite a big extent. But what is happening inside is more important. And it actually influences the whole dynamic in the outside. That was the first thing. And the second thing, that when we are with Guruji, it's not about being close to him physically again, although we know about it, he speaks about it and all of that, and about how much we want to be with him, not because we love him actually, but because we're scared of missing out of something. And I'm not the first one to speak about it, because there was a beautiful satsang of Myron some time back. Unfortunately, I don't right now recall when exactly he gave this satsang. He would probably recall it even better. He spoke about how Guruji made him understand that he wanted to be with him sometimes, maybe not always. We're not speaking about that, okay, it's only like this now. But how much he wanted to be with him because he was scared that he will miss out. And Guruji once just put him in front of this fact that that was his motivation to be with him. And I will not retell his satsang, he's beautifully saying it himself because it's his experience. You can ask him directly for the recording of the satsang, for sure he'll share it. And it's somewhere there in recordings of the events of Guruji. So that was my experience, but first I wanted to start with and this topic is connected to, remember what Swamini was giving a satsang about how Guruji said that he became an entertainment for people? That was the topic just before he came for Holi. And it was interesting how during Holi, for example, he was demonstrating it even. Like he would sit to eat with everybody when everybody finished eating, and everybody would look like sitting in the theater and looking at the stage, and he was eating in front of everybody, like entertainment basically. And I was noticing that and thinking, wow, he's like showing parts and bits of that. And when he came to Kerala, he told a few things that made me think about it even more. That there is something that we don't understand deeply in what he's teaching us. And that was purely given to me through my own experience that I understand, and it was very beautiful how he did it. So when he arrived, the very first day when he was there, we went to the temple that is called Guruvayur. And I have prasad from Guruvayur here, and one of this prasad, like it's a sugar that was blessed there, and then there is a sandal paste, a specific sandal paste that is made with mixture of different herbs and clay and all of that, and perfumes, that is made specifically for him. And in the morning when they do abhisheka for him, they cover him fully with this sandal paste, and then they collect it and they give it to people. So Guruji gave it to us personally also in little packets in the end of the visit, and I brought one with me, and I'm going to distribute it after as well, so that everybody can receive this blessing, because the visit to Guruvayur temple was actually unique in the way that Guruji himself was there first time. And that's what he shared with me right there when we were coming in. He was super excited. And then he said, and I told him, but you've been, no? He says, no, I have never been. I said, how come? You've been here in Kerala, how come you have not been to Guruvayur? And he says, no, but you see, I've been with a group of European devotees. I said, yeah, but you are not European, you can come in. And he says, no, but I didn't want to. And he said when we arrived to Guruvayur, to the doors, and they didn't allow his group, he said, then I decided I will not go also myself. I was like, wow, that's something very special that he's done also for the people, and to show something to the people as well. And when we went, and so he waited for this time, for all the group to be allowed, so that he can have darshan of Guruvayur. And so we all went to have darshan of Guruvayur. We had a special darshan, they had a close darshan of him, closer than normally people get. And the deity is not big, he's quite small. And he was covered with chandal partly as well. Some people didn't even recognize that it was Guruvayur. You know, you are like so keen to see him actually, and when you look, you don't see, because you want so much to see something special. So some people were saying afterwards, like, I think I didn't see him. I said, no, you've seen him. He was smiling there, and his face was covered with chandran, so relax, you've seen him. So Guruji was excited, and when we came out, he was interviewed by the local press, and he said to them that he feels that it's such a big thing that happened, that 100 foreign devotees were allowed to Guruvayur, because in Guruvayur nobody is allowed. If you're white, you're not going to be allowed. So that is why we did all of this drama with the certificates and yagna, with organization that is called Arya Samaj, and that is why we went also one day in advance before Guruji arrived there, because we needed to do this yagna, and he wanted us to do this yagna. And then once we did it, he said, keep your certificate like a treasure, you might need it again, like it's very important. And he was very particular about a few things that he said about that. So then when he was giving interview, he was also saying that how important it is that actually, like in Sanatana Dharma has to be open for everybody, and people, European devotees, have to be allowed, have to receive this opportunity to go in. So I think it was kind of revolutionary also for the temple itself, and of course now it will be a known fact that Guruji and all of us went there. And then we went to another temple that is called, now I don't remember the name of the temple, it was a Shiva temple. And Vadukumanan, I think, temple. So we went to this temple, and Guruji again was very happy that we came there. It was also only possible with the Hindu certificate. And he explained us about the temple, and the deity inside is very special because it's a Shiva lingam that is probably not so big in size by itself, but it is covered by ghee, which is collected on the lingam because of everyday abhishekam that they do for it, specifically with ghee. And the ghee doesn't just melt and go, although imagine it was super hot. It was super, super hot there, like 40 degrees easily. So you know ghee becomes soft in this temperature. So it doesn't in this temple, and there is no fridge inside. So the lingam just gets covered with the ghee, and gets covered with the ghee, and gets covered with the ghee, and finally it was a mountain of ghee. So when you look actually in Moolasthana, you can see the wall of ghee. And that's it, and it's decorated. And you think, where is the lingam? But that is actually lingam, because it's just covered with ghee and they don't remove it. So it's like Kailash on itself, it's freezing the ghee basically. So he was very excited about that, and the temple is very powerful indeed. We went around parikrama, and it all looked to me that he really enjoys the temples, and people are really enjoying the temples. And the next day in the morning, he comes out a little bit late, as always. Everybody is waiting in the buses. And so I'm waiting for him to get maybe his instruction if anything needed. And when he comes out, he tells me, you know, Abhirami, I will probably not to go to Mataji's bus at all, because there were 2 Mataji buses and 1 Prabhu's bus mixed with families. And he said, because Matajis here are super ungrounded. And he said they are so ungrounded that some of them are not even present in their bodies. And this actually he also told me before he went to Guruvayur. He already told me, you know, I see Matajis are so ungrounded. I thought, okay, now he repeated that, and I thought, okay, now I have to share it with Matajis in the bus. I was in one of the buses, so I shared that. I said, so everybody should think what it means for them. And then we went to 2 more temples. And in one of the first temple, it was the temple of Bharat. So it's the only temple in India, only Asian temple in India. I believe maybe the new ones are there. But the only Asian temple in India that has a deity of Bharata, brother of king of Ramachandra, Bhagavan. And they worship him as the symbol of dharmic behavior, of very honest, very pure heart and dharmic behavior, which obviously Bharat demonstrated in the Ramayana. If you read about how he was, how he how he came to Rama and then how he took his charan padukas and carried his padukas on his head back to the kingdom, and he refused to rule the kingdom instead of Ram, but he put his padukas on the throne and acted as his representative, and lived basically as a recluse and with a very strict discipline towards himself all of the time of Rama's exile, and how he waited for Rama and how he received him back. All of that is a huge example for us. So this is a temple, a very beautiful temple again, and we had darshan there, and we were almost late to this temple because Guruji is normally late. And then to the next temple, which was Bhadrakali temple, we happened to be so late that basically the temple had to be already closed, but then Guruji managed to come inside. But many people did not manage because they were so slow when they were coming in, although I put in all the groups and announced in the buses that please run. Just run inside of the temple, then you think about everything else afterwards. Just run so that you can have darshan. So Guruji, of course, he's very fast, he gets in. Those people who are very fast gets in, and then everybody else does like before entering the temple, looks at the sky, then goes down, then like touches the threshold, and then comes in, and then obviously they just close the door because of all of that happening, and half of the group doesn't get in. So I get angry. We get from the exit, and you can see my little bit from there. Then somehow I get in. I don't know how I managed, but it often happens to me. I just get in through the exit, and I try to get access for everybody else, to bring everybody else with me, but it doesn't work. They don't allow anybody else, but they allow me. So I have darshan. I'm a bit like angry. Guruji looks at me and he laughs. And then he says, do you think like it's because of this strict rule in the temples, in the Hindu temples, that all the Hindus now convert into Christians? And I said, I don't know, Guruji. I said, I think it's because of that. And then he gave an interview about that actually afterwards when he came out of the temple. So we get out, and then some other things happen, and then in the bus I just tell people, look, like how ungrounded can you be? Like now it's like a real example of ungroundedness. When you receive an instruction, just be fast and you do all of that. Like, what is that? You can't think straight or what? Like then half the group doesn't receive darshan just because you don't listen. So then it comes to the next point. We come for lunch, and Guruji calls me to his table. And I come, and he tells me, Abhirami, like I'm so tired. And I'm listening to him, and he repeats it a couple of times. He says, I'm so tired. He also said it during Holi once to me. And I'm like, okay. And then he says, in these people, like you made a program, there are so many temples. And I was thinking the temples are so nice and like so unique. And he tells me, you made this program of all these temples, but it's not worth it. Like these people, they don't even understand anything about these temples. I look at their faces, they don't get it. So why did you even put all of these temples in the program in the first place? I'm like, wow, okay, Guruji, okay, they don't get it. And he says, like, why don't we just go to the beach and basically take them to the beach, let them spend time on the beach? Why didn't you like book our hotels just on the beach? And they don't need any of that. They don't get it. I'm like, wow, okay. So of course I get disheartened with all of that and say, okay, Guruji, so you want the beach? And I'm thinking, already calculating in my mind, what can I do now? Because the hotels, like why I didn't book at the beach, although I wanted to, the hotels are too small on the beach area, and they are not able to accommodate 100 of people in most of the places. It's only in Trivandrum that we got such a hotel. And so he's like basically, and it's only the second day of the program and I'm so tired already. I'm like, my God, like he's tired of all of us basically, of not getting it, of like what he's giving, right? So I'm like, okay, Abhirami, and I'm just telling him, okay, Guruji, I'm going to fix it as much as I can. I'm going to think right now, and I'm going to do whatever I can. And he's like, okay. So I'm going, and I'm like, what can I do now, man? So I call for travel agents. I sit with him. I think with them. I say to them, okay, let's just replan. Maybe tomorrow or the day after, we can already go to the beach instead of the temples. He obviously doesn't want the temples. And they're like, okay, we'll try to do our best. So I'm pressurizing them now because I'm also getting stressed. So they're like, okay, we'll do what we can do. And meanwhile, Guruji, obviously I didn't understand what he said, because he asks Anshu to come to me and to call me again to his table. So I'm coming again to his table, and I'm sitting, leaning like, kneeling in front of his table, and he's sitting like this, in front of him his plate, and Giridhari is standing like this on the asana. He always eats like in front of Giridhari. So first he offers his food to Giridhariji and then he eats. So Giridhari, Rukmini Panduranka and his Lakshmi Saligram is there. So he turns to me like this and he says, look at Giridhari. Do you see how tired he is? And I'm like, sure. Like, what does he want to tell me now? And he's like, no, look. Don't you see his eyes? Like, he's so tired. And he's like even increasing his voice, and I'm like, I'm looking at Giridhari, and I really see like that Giridhari is like, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, Guruji, he's like, yeah, like think about it. He's like so tired. So I'm going and I'm thinking, okay, Giridhari, like Giridhari is tired. He's like tired of us. So I'm thinking about all of that, and I speak about it to like some other devotee also to like understand what does it mean. And I'm getting more stressed now because I think, okay, I'm also like, I'm not doing what he wants me to do, obviously, because he's saying it to me, right? So I need to like totally transform like now, in the moment, because it's just being very bad. He's super tired. So, of course, I'm laughing now, but it wasn't funny for me that time. So it goes on. I'm stressed. We come to the hotel that is in Cochin now. We arrived to Cochin, to Ramana Resort. It's a very nice hotel on the lake, and I thought, okay, maybe he'll feel a little bit like better there, because he also said a few words about the previous hotel that he didn't like it. So I thought maybe like it will be nicer there. It has some nice lakes, some swimming pools around. So he rests a little bit that evening, and then in the morning, we were supposed to go to one temple that he was really excited to go to. It was a Lakshmi temple in Cochin, Chitikulangara temple, or Chitikara. There are two, the Chitikara temple. And he was very excited. He said, she's very, very powerful. So we literally managed to do this temple in the morning because again, he was a bit late. And then we were supposed to go on the boats. So just before the boats, and he's already in a different mood, like the mood changed completely. So we go on the boats. And before the boats, we had lunch in a Ayurvedic center. So he calls me to his table before the boats during lunch. He calls me, I come. I'm like, okay, what is he gonna say now? He calls me, I sit next, again, kneel next to him. Again, the same situation. He tells me, look at Giridhari, what do you see? And I'm like, I feel like that is all right now, but I'm even scared to say, well, I think he looks a bit like rested or relaxed. I said something like, he says, yeah, he's more relaxed and he's joyful today. And I look at Guruji and I say to him, Guruji, but what has changed? Why he's better today? And he does, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So I have to understand it myself. So then we go on the boat and he gives a beautiful satsang on the boat. So in this satsang, he tells something. He tells many things. One of them was, by the way, he was answering a question of Tadu Aridasi, and he said, like, we shouldn't feel special about being in Vrindavan or any other spiritual place, because it's actually not special. Everywhere, if you love God, He'll come to you. So he was speaking about the specialness that we feel about different kind of things, that we are close to Him, or we are in a special place, or we are, in Shri Chaitanya Nilaya, or we are in Vrindavan, or we are somewhere else, or we are with Him. So he was speaking about that a lot. And two things that I remember most, that are to the topic basically, is, first of all, he said, you know, people, it's not your problem often, but like it was in the context of something, but the way he said it is very funny. He said, it's not your problem often. He said, it's me, because I continuously contradict myself. So I say one thing and then on the next day I'm different and it's a different thing. So this is one thing that he says. And secondly, he says something very interesting. Let me drink water. Oh, it's better. So he says, you know, if I would be just a normal human being, person from the street, remember he said? So, if I would be just a normal person on the street, normal man on the street, do you think you would love me the same way as you love me now? He said, no, I'm not stupid. He said, you would not. And you would not want to be with me. And you would not want to do all of these things for me. And you would not love me. It's because he is so special. He has all this entourage going on around him. It's because he is so attractive and so different in so many different ways. Because he obviously has an authority and the powers that are like all around him and inside of him. That he behaves in such a special way that everybody wants to be with him. Why? Because when you are close to a very special person, right? Then you are so special. Imagine also a different situation, like in the world. Everybody wants to get to the star, right? Not because you really love this person, but why we get attracted? Because they're famous, because they're special, because everybody looks at them, because they have fame, name and so on. So we want to be near them, and it becomes a huge desire inside. And he was showing that in the Satsang. He said, it's just because you want to be special. You don't want to be near me because of me. Just look at that. Why do you actually want to be near me? And then that made me think again, although I know it from the previous times, he told me straight to my face a few times, like, I don't want you to be in front. Like, don't show your face basically here. Don't sit in front, don't do this, don't come ask me. He would like ignore me or send me in the back or like remind me that I have to be somewhere there, like straight. Or he would, when I would come in, he would say, just leave, you're disturbing me, like that. So I understood that my place is always in the back. And I was trying this time also from the very beginning to just be in the back and not show up so much, unless he calls me to tell me that Giridhari is tired. Right? So otherwise I was always trying to be on the back, because I know it's my place. So now when he said that, I was really reflecting on that. It really like struck me. And I understood that big desire inside of me, big fear that I have. Like when, for example, I'm on pilgrimage with him and he does something, I'm always scared that I will miss out. So that I will go now from the dinner and he will come and he will say something, he will do something and I will not see it, or I will not be participating into that. And big thing in this is not just because I want to see him, but also because I'm just scared that I will not receive something. And it's not easy to understand. It's actually, you need to find it inside of yourself, how it is. Because it's not even easy to speak about it, because it's such a subtle border between, because all of us also do have a soul that loves him and wants to be with him genuinely. But there is so much mind into that, in the desire to be somebody for him and to be more special than any other devotee. There is so much of that also involved that it's very hard sometimes to navigate actually what is what. What am I actually feeling? So I realized that for sure that what he said was about me. That if he would be a simple person on the street, I for sure would not notice him. And he is a simple person on the street because he lives in every single one. So what does it make me want inside of me? What does it make me want him more than, like, or love him more than anybody else? Want to be with him more than to serve anybody else? Want to serve him more than to serve any other devotee, any other person? Right? It's because I see that this is special, and this makes me closer to something, that this makes me something more. So all of that I was thinking, and then what I decided to do is that if I'm so scared to miss out, I will just do it. I'll just face it. He comes in, I come out. Let me just miss out. Let me feel how it is. So from the next morning, I did that. So it was, and it was such a beautiful experience, I can't even tell you. So first of all, he announces that he will come for breakfast, which is very rare. Normally he has his little cracker or something with tea in his room, and we see him near the buses. So he says, I will come for breakfast. And when he said this, and Pankaj brings me the news, I think, okay, my job is to make his table and sit as far as I can, and the moment he comes, if there is nothing that is needed, I'll go away. So I'll do that, I prepare his table, I sit far away, he comes, he goes, he speaks to some people, says hello, then he goes, sits at his table, I take my bag and I think, I'll go. And I finish packing, I'll go and check on the buses, I'll not be here. Let me miss out, if it's possible, and let me see what I will feel. I go to my room and Anshul calls me and he says, Guruji is asking, where are you? And I'm like, wow, it never happened to me before. I mean, yes, when I'm in the presence and Anshul calls me because he wants to ask me for whatever, but I'm not even there and he calls me to come. And I say, well, I'm in my room. And he says, well, you better come. So he calls for you. So I'm like, okay. So I'm coming down, I come to his table, and he doesn't really look at me, so I come and show it okay, nothing, so I stand a little bit, then I sit a little bit, and then he asks me one thing about if we can visit one ashram, and then he makes me come to the table, and basically then there is a conversation which he kind of involves me in, and I'm there till the end of his breakfast. And it feels like, okay, if you really are okay with missing out, he's gonna come to you himself. Don't be afraid. Basically, if you feel that you're imposing yourself on him, just basically dispose yourself from him. Just go away, because that's not normal. You should not, try to make him love you or give you something. Let him decide. Let him choose you when he wants to choose you. Let him give you what he wants to give you when he wants to give it to you. Even if he will make you wait for whatever time, like Ahilya was waiting for him, for Rama, right? Being a stone, it doesn't matter, because it's eternity in the end with him. But I'm not saying it's easy, I'm just saying my understanding of it was like that. So then, it continued like that, actually. I was trying to do it every time. And I knew I was afraid. I was afraid doing it. And the more I was doing it, the more I was understanding the best is what he is giving to you now. Even right now, being in my room and him being in Japan and thinking, oh my God, I'm missing out. Because he gave me all of these years being here, not only me, but many residents and many Seva people that came here and spent time here. For years, he would not even come, during COVID, for 2 years, he would not even come once. And there was so much happening in the other part of the world. People were coming to him, having so much experiences with him, right? And you missing out. And I was always, this part I could kind of accept because, okay, he put me here, he gave his own instruction. But when he is here, to miss out on him becomes almost unbearable. He is here, but he's not allowing you to come close to him. she knows. So this becomes almost unbearable, because you think now what? Like, is it not even meant at all that I'm with him? But you have to face this fear that actually whatever he has given you is the fullness of his love, and it is really the best for you. He is really cares for you intensely, to the intensity that you never can even understand. And this intensity of love is manifested in what he has given to you particularly. And this you cannot see till you have this fear of missing out, until you have the fear that if you're not close to him, then it means that you're less. This fear of being less, this fear of not getting Vaikuntha or time with him or eternity with him, or anything, whatever it is in your words. Till you have that, you cannot see that actually what he has given to you is the fullness of that. And that is why the key is not how Guruji is saying, how Savatamali was. Savatamali was never in Pandharpur. He never went to see Panduranga. He was sitting in his garden and praying to him. He never had his darshan till he came to him. And so, when I was doing it, he was demonstrating it to me. Like, I understand there is a huge path still for me to go. But what he demonstrated was so impressive that I can't even tell you. Like, it touched me and humbled me so much. So there was one evening, I was continuing doing that and working on that consciously. And then in the end of it, 1 or 2 days just before the end of pilgrimage, Guruji was also very sick. So he became sick. I'll come back to my part of the story, but I want to include this part of the saint also. So he became very sick after he visited this ashram of the saint, which he discussed with me that morning when he called for me to come. He really wanted to go to the ashram of the saint. I'll show you the picture of him. So this is the saint, and he gave me this book. This is a relic, present of Guruji that he gave me. Because it's in Russian, and he said, you can read it, right? So read it. And I said, Guruji, what are you talking about? I have no time to read your books. Now you're giving me this. He looked at me and he said, but you can read that one, right? And I said, yes. He said, so read it. I said, okay. So that was the saint, Prabhakara, Siddha Yogi Prabhakara Swami. And he went to him because he said he wanted a relic of this saint. And last time when we went to Kerala in 2015, and me and Swamini were invited for a few days to join. We were already in India at that time with Swamini, and he told us we could come. So we came there and we actually were in this ashram, but I didn't remember till it all went into a puzzle when he told the story later on. So what happened, he goes into this ashram and he sends us away to temples. He makes a lila. He speaks during lunch. He asks people, why did you come here, to be with me or to go to the temples? And people misunderstood, I think, when he was saying it. Half of the people didn't even hear it. So they raised the hand on the temples side, and then he says, okay, good, you go to the temples, I'm going to the different place. And Abhirami, of course, has to guide the group, so I went with the group, and we got also a couple of relics, and it was actually a very nice experience as well. So we had to be with him in our hearts, basically, and he was doing his own thing. So he goes to this ashram, and of course there is a beautiful lila that is happening. There was a lady there that last time, and I was there, he asked her to give something of this Guru. And she had his hair, and she did not give it to Guruji. So this time, he comes because he knows that she was so upset with herself. She regretted it. And she was continuously thinking about Guruji coming back so that she can correct her mistake. So he comes back. And she tells him, oh my God, I wanted so much to give it to you. I regretted so much that I didn't give it to you. So she gives him this hair of this Prabhakara, Siddha Yogi Swami. And Guruji returns. He visits also some disciples of this tradition that are Russian, and they give him this book, which he gives me in the evening, the same evening when he arrives. And when he arrives with fever. Like full fever, sick, Next day he's like having all kinds of pain in the body. He has cough, he has throat pain, almost a stomach pain as well, like everything. Like he's so sick, fully sick. He calls me, he tells me, okay, you go to the temple, I can't come. So the whole day again we spent alone. Like, I actually never had a pilgrimage when it was that he basically like removed himself in this way. But he really also needed rest. His physical body needed rest. That's what he told us in the beginning. So he was sick that day, and then the next day we went into the train. He was still very sick in the train. And then we arrived, and the same day something happened. So again, during lunch, I made sure that everything was there, and then I went to my room. I wasn't even staying there when he was eating lunch. I just went. I thought, okay, I have other things to do. So I went to my room, and then I found out that some of the money from Bhakti Marga was stolen. Another story which I won't touch here in detail, but anyway, like I was trying to figure this out, what to do now. So I was discussing it with travel agents, I was doing something, and then Asha, my roommate, she said, okay, let's have some French fries and juice. And she orders these things. And we come out of our house, and we sit on the bench there. And I remember like the whole state that I had was like, first of all, like I know that I'm here just to serve him, yes, and that has to be the satisfaction in itself, but I don't feel it. And I don't know what is wrong. Like, and I know that what I have chosen to do is like to withdraw myself whenever possible. It's also the right thing, but I don't feel this peace and satisfaction. And we shared it, and Asha somehow could connect to that also, and we were discussing it a little bit. And then, so I was thinking about this thing with the theft, and then I see the orange figure moving towards us. And I'm like thinking inside of myself, oh my God, it is Guruji, and he's coming to me. And then I think, no, you're proud. He's not coming to you. He's just walking around. And he's coming and he's turning to us and he's coming to us. He's coming to the step. And you know, in this moment, like I'm just sitting there with all this pile of potatoes and the juice, and I'm thinking, man, what should I do now? Like, should I offer him something? And he just sat there, and then when he obviously was coming to us, like he was coming to me directly, and he even said something to me already, and then I stood up. And I was like, Guruji, come please sit here, or sit on the chair. And we emptied the chair and we emptied the bench for him, but he sat on the step, on his asana, and then we sit next to him on the steps, and he starts to talk to us, and he talks to mostly actually he was listening to what I was saying and answering, and then we were discussing some things, like for 30 or 40 minutes, and he had full fever. Like he was in so much fever, you could see it in his eyes and in everything, like in his whole body. And I was so crushed by that. Like he actually walked the whole way from his house to just sit with us for this 30 minutes, 40 minutes, to just give his full attention to these few people that were present, meaning basically Asha, myself. Swami Drishti said a little bit aside, and actually she then disappeared, because I think she felt it wasn't for her. So I was like, no, maybe she said a little bit further, just that like I remember Asha sitting next to me, and Anshul sitting like this, and Guruji sitting right there. So it was such a humbling experience, like seeing him like this and actually giving out of himself everything, right? Even in this state. And that made me really understand that when you really have to do it, you have to allow yourself to like drop it and miss out, because it's not possible to miss out with him. It's not possible. But you have to drop the fear and the idea that you can, and that he actually loves somebody more than you. It doesn't exist. And I totally believe that this is what he was showing to me. And also the second part of it is then when you completely also absorbed in just thinking what is needed for him to be done. instead of like hanging around, but when you think, okay, what is next that I can do for him? Instead of thinking, okay, let me sit around, maybe he will look at me. Which I used to do a lot. Like, let me sit around and maybe I'll catch a glance. But this is ungrounded, because we have so many desires and so many dreams of how it's gonna, happen. He's gonna come on the white horse. The Mataji's, right? Because he spoke particularly about Mataji's, how ungrounded we are. Because we create the stories inside of our heads, and we don't think about him in these stories. We think about how we will be loved by him and how we will receive what we desire to receive from him. It's all about us. It's all about myself being special, loved, or accepted in a special way, or taken to some special degree or whatever. So that's what happened. And he was so sweet in so many ways, and how, like, afterwards he was telling, okay, like, let's go for lunch, like, let's do that, and how he wanted also to give everybody a book. And he gave a message with this book. I'll show you the book so you can also get it. So this is the book. It's called Narayaniyam. So he recommended this book in the very beginning of pilgrimage. It's Srimad Bhagavatam, basically, retold in verses by one poet, southern poet, South Indian poet, in a very beautiful way. It's a very beautiful poetry about Narayana and his incarnation, like Srimad Bhagavatam retold, basically. And he wants us to read this book in 7 days, the same way as Shukadev heard Srimad Bhagavatam in 7 days. So you can buy it, it's available in Amazon. So he gave also in his satsang, he gave the message that we have to really learn and transform ourselves, and then it's not about seeking this entertainment from him on the outside, basically. And it's about dropping the fears of losing him or losing something that he might have given to me, but it's because of me he didn't give. Yeah, because of us being stupid and not actually looking at what we can do for him instead of what we can get from him.